All right, what's going on, everyone? This is the start of a new podcast series, a new podcast episode with Tarsem Singh Sandhu. You may have seen me talk about him on Instagram or on Twitter, and today I actually get to see him. So hopefully it all goes well, and I will catch you guys once I get there. We're in the car. Hopefully we'll be there in about an hour. I might be a little bit sweaty. It's taking me ages to find a top that's clean enough to go onto podcast today. So yeah, see you guys later. As me from the past makes his way over to Tarsem, let me give you a little backstory. The turban is a significant symbol of Sikh identity, and it may come as a shock that just 60 years ago, less than 2 decades after the Second World War, where almost 200,000 turban-wearing Sikh soldiers were either killed or wounded, you could still be suspended from your place of work if you wore a turban. Tarsem Singh Sandhu was one of a number of young Sikh men at the time who faced such discrimination. To gain more insight, I met with Tarsem to hear his story. Tarsem shared a captivating story with me, detailing his journey from a construction worker to being embroiled at the center of the turban ban controversy. He shed light on the influence of figures such as Enoch Powell and the impactful story of Mr. Sohan Singh Jolly's drastic promise to self-immolate if the turban ban was not lifted. Tarsem even shared how his work colleagues even took part in a bold Mad Hatter's protest against London Transport's decision to let Tarsem wear his turban whilst on duty. So stay tuned until the end of the conversation to find out more fascinating details. And without further ado, let's get straight into our exciting conversation. Can you tell us when and why you first came to the UK?
Why is a question like everybody comes with the same thing. I left my college in 1960, Jalandhar Khalsa College, and after that, because my father came to England for a better life, so at the time, a lot of people was thinking to come to England, and I similarly joined that queue that let's go to England if the life is better there.
And how old were you at this point?
I was at 18.
18, okay, wow, all right. Oh, and then when you first came to England, where did you stay? Like, where did your family settle?
My uncle was living in this county since 1959, and so we approached him.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, and then obviously you mentioned you were 18 when you first came here. So did you study or did you go straight into a job once you arrived?
I went to job, and at the same time I went to night classes.
The moment of truth finally arrived, and I realized my microphone wasn't working. I quickly sprang into action after some consideration, and I decided to use my trusty iPhone to record. I know you're probably thinking, wait, the audio before this point sounded fine, and yeah, you're correct. That's all thanks to the surprisingly good camera microphone. But don't worry, we're back and ready to roll. Okay, so you'd mentioned, that you were 18 when you first came and you went straight into a job.
Also, I joined the Wolverhampton College, Wolverhampton, for evening classes. But that was a short period because first I got a job which was day work, and after about 3 months they changed shift to they did the work change to shifts. Then I had to lose either work or the college. At the time, because we were new, we weren't well off, and the finance was also a problem. So due to that reason, I had to sacrifice the college and had to take a job. If in those days jobs were so rare that people used to queue outside any factory for a long time, and there was a maximum, I think, with 2 million unemployment at the time. So it was a bad time when I came.
That's amazing. And yet, so I guess at that time having a job was like a rarity. So most people were out of employment. Okay.
Yes.
So what was the country like then? You come in the early 60s, you're 18, you're from a different country, you don't talk the language. What was it like for you and your family then, growing up or just living in a country like this?
The feeling was not bad, because where we come from, it was better than that. And I haven't seen the whole India at the time while I was living in my village. So maybe there India, some parts are better than here, but I haven't seen those parts. So where I come from, village life, college life was not very joyful in those days, because when you are in hardship and you come to the country, so it was better here. And also people's, although they were racist, but normally you don't feel like, because everybody feel to be friendly, their attitude, the way they speak through in the shops and they serve you in the shops, is more like welcoming because of their still in India, I think is rude. They don't speak like what they speak here in shops when you go to shop. So it was okay.
It was good. Okay. The only reason I ask is because my dad came from Africa in the 70s, and they lived up north near near Newcastle, and they suffered immense racism. And so it's really interesting to hear that when you came earlier in the 60s, actually people were, on the whole, quite nice.
It wasn't bad, actually. I think there are two problems. One was that there's people who don't have, who were totally new, who don't have anybody here to look after them. For them, it's very different. Because I had my uncle, he was married, I was living with him. So, first of all, that was easy for me. And number two, I could speak some English, not fluently like now. I could write English, I could read English. So to me, it was not that strange as to everybody just come who don't know nothing about it.
No, that's fair. So explain to me then the period between when you first arrive and when you get your job as a bus driver. So in between, what are you doing and what's happening?
Before I went to buses, I went to buses purposely for this reason, actually. It was not that something happened to me. With the 3 year, I was lucky. I had a good job, much better payment than my father, what he was doing, although I was underage. And in that time, because at the young time, you inspire everything you want to do, you You take risks.
Yeah, definitely.
I went to college business as well. Before even go to buses. Soon I became 21. I bought a tipping lorry. At the time, there was a big construction going in Wolverhampton. One day I was watching there, what's happening, and the foreman came up from there. He saw a young lad looking at. I was just looking straight because in those days, I haven't seen that machinery in India.
Okay, I understand.
I haven't seen that sort of construction going in India. So to me, it was like something new. And he said, lad, what you looking for? I said, I was just looking what you're doing. He said, we're digging here and sending the all the earth which is being moved to a different place. And because we're going to go deeper, that was a shopping center, Wolverhampton Shopping Center. And these lorries are taking from here to that place. I said, oh, yeah, that's right. He said, you want to buy a lorry? He just joked me. When he said, you want to buy a lorry, I said, bloody hell, have you got a job for me? He said, if you got a lorry, I'll give you a job. It was a joke. Before that, I had a car myself because my job was good. It was very few people who had a car at that time. In Wolverhampton, there was 5 people who had a car or van. Three shops had the vans. 2 people had a cars. Operation committee, I'm talking, not the other one. So that I was the second one to have a car. So I went around to the places where they're selling lorries. Went around and I started asking how much it is, how you're going to work, how much you're going to pay. In those days, it was easy that if you pay 10%, and then the rest they can give you credit on the truck. At the time, I thought I haven't got £300 because the truck was 3,000 pounds at those days, and that was a lot money. Because my father's wages were £9 a week, where I was earning about £21 a week. Majority people was average 10 and 9, 10, 11, 12. Some people who had a good job doing overtime, they used to make £20 plus something. But that was very rare. So I went around to the lorry places, and by evening, I sorted out that I want to buy this lorry. I said, will you take this car? They said, we'll take the car, which is £150. The car was £500, but there was some credit on that one also.
Oh, okay, I see.
So they say you have to find another £350. So within 1 week, I tried to raise £150, give it post and put it post for the lorry. And within 2 or 3 weeks, I came with a brand new lorry to that place. And when I came to that place and the foreman looked at me, he was looking at me, he was looking up, he was looking left, right, that, oh my God, what have I done? I just joked to this young lad, he is in trouble now. He has paid for the lorry. This is not how it works. Then he said, look, young man, it's my fault. I never know you're going to be that daft that you buy a lorry. So I say, you told me if you got a lorry, I'll give you work. He said, yes, I did say, but I never know how on earth you buy a lorry there. So he said, look, the procedure is this. You have to apply for an operator license, which I never knew. You're 21 now, you can drive, but operator license is different, which is supplied by the Ministry of Transport, that you are allowed to operate this business. The procedure for this is somebody have to give you a letter, apply for it. They will say, we support you if you bought a lorry. Nobody want to give you a letter because people who already got a lorry, they don't want anybody else doing competition.
Yeah, they don't want competition, yeah.
And now, and that will take you 6 months to get a license. And I don't know what to do now. Yeah. I thought, well, I got to pay installment every month for it. Now, what to do? Yeah, and he thought, my God, what have I done? He felt guilty himself. He said, look, the way it is now, I'll give you work now. But you haven't seen me. I haven't seen you. If police stop you just outside the road or here, I would say, I don't know this gentleman. I don't know why he came here, why he filled the lorry on the machine. We never employ him. And that's how it's going to be. So if you're lucky enough, if you can carry on. If you are stopped, that's it. I can't do anymore. Yeah. But I haven't seen you. You haven't seen me. So as a matter of fact, the day somebody catches you, that will be your first day that you just came today. We never seen you before. Yeah. And it's not you can say that I've been working here 3 months. No, I haven't seen you before. That's the first day, and that's it. That's the end of it. So by 6 months, I worked there. I earned enough to pay back my lorry complete. And then I thought, I'm okay now. In those meantime, I tried to find how to get a sporting letter from somebody to apply for a license. 6-7 months, yes. Then I got the license by that time. Got it, okay. But by that time, everything was paid.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
And then so once you've paid off this lorry, why then, like, because it sounds like you had a job, you had a good time, you paid the lorry off, there's no credit left.
Making no money.
Making money.
Making more 75
Making more money than your dad, as you were mentioning. Why then did you decide to drive a bus?
My dad was working in Goodyear factory. We are from a Sikh family. Our grandparents, they were like proper Sikhs. And it was very hard for us when we came to England. We had to cut our hairs. I didn't want to cut my hair. My father never wanted to cut my hair. But people, where we come to, majority of them, they were all clean-shaven. First thing they used to do is compel you to cut your hair. You won't get a job. And second thing, if you don't do it, and you have friends or people who know you like well off, not ordinary person, people who are close to you, they will say, if you're sleeping, take a seat, cut your hair, then tell you, go and have a shave because you won't get a job like this. So this is how it was. Okay. So my hair was cut like that, and my father's hair was cut like that. My father was working in a Goodyear company, and they were not allowed to grow beard. But one person there before my father was working, and he grew his beard. He had long hairs, but they were not allowed to wear turban. So he used to put his long hairs back, like hippies, and he had a long beard. And when he used to come home, the other person, and then he used to wear the turban. So my father joined him. So they thought they two instead of one now in the company. So they both one day said that why don't we wear the turban and see what happened. Yeah. So they wore turban, went to work, and they said, you can't. And they came home that either we have to lose the job or we don't have to wear the turban anymore. So came home, and there was MP, her name was Rani Short. She was my father's friends was living in the area where she was MP, that area. So my father's friends were her constituents. They approached her and told them that we work in such place. There's a like color war going on. Yes. Because we are not allowed to wear turban. And she said, well, you hear color bar, nobody liked that. although there is a color bar, but nobody wants to know that there's a color bar.
Pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah. She said, no, it doesn't happen there. And she said, look, I'm one of the directors of that company. She was not employed by the company, but some people are, directors by supporting them or whichever. So she said, leave it with me, I'll write to them. She wrote a letter that I've got 2 people here who said that they are not allowed to wear turban. Is that right? And because officially nobody wanted to admit, they said, no, we never stopped anybody. So they wrote back to her that we don't stop anybody. So when the letter came back after 4 or 5 days, they called my father and his friend that I got this letter, you are allowed to wear turban. So they said, can we have a copy? She gave them a copy. So they went back to work and they said, who told you to wear turban? He said, look, there's a letter. You written to our MP that you're not refusing anybody to wear turbans. Yeah. So that was easy. Then my father said that, look, we need to find somebody. This got to be a movement because nobody wearing turban these days. We need to make a movement. How can we make a movement? Then they found out that in Wolverhampton buses, there were 140 people, Singhs, were working, all young boys, and they were all clean-shaven. They both said that let's find somebody in there who can take this case further.
Yeah.
Because everybody fear of losing job, nobody want to do that. And one day they came back in the evening and said, I told my father, look, Dad, if somebody say, you got a son, why don't you ask him to join the bus and start this? Why you want to, interfere in somebody else's life that some people want to earn money and somebody may blame you. Yeah. Then my father said, well, you answer for that then. I said, look, I've got a good business running now. If you both happy or you are with me, you support me, I'll stop the business.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll go there.
Yeah.
So it was a big thing for me to close my business. I was earning about £70 a day and those days.
Wow, that's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. And where people were not having £25 a week. Yeah. So
correct me if I'm wrong, and this is obviously why we're doing the recording, but in some of the newspapers that I was reading, it had mentioned that in 1967, I think if I'm correct, it said that when you first started the job, you didn't have your beard and turban.
Yes.
And then it mentioned that there was a period of illness and then you came back afterwards and had a beard and turban. So first of all, I guess, is that what happened?
As I mentioned, I went there purposely that I'm going to start wearing turban. Yes. First 6 months in the job, I was as a conductor. Yep. Then I was trained as a driver. When I was trained driver, then after I had 2 weeks holidays or sick, whatever it was, I don't remember exactly now. So I went back, I had little bit grown up beard as a young man, very little. Yeah. And then I wore the turban to the job without telling anybody.
And so that first day that you go to your job wearing a turban, what happens?
I did my one trip on my route. Then everybody came to know that there's a young man who's wearing turban. Then the inspectors were waiting for me when they were come back. They were going to see that, is that right? So when I came back from the route, they all standing there and with their driver, they pulled me out. They asked me to come out of the bus and you have to take the turban off because this is not a part of uniform. I said, well, what do you mean it's not a part of uniform? I got a uniform color and same color, the turban is there. And what is it? They said, no, we haven't supplied you the uniform turban. This is not part of the uniform. It's not in our uniform. You are not allowed to wear turban. So either you have to take the turban off, put the hat on, cap on, or you have to not work. I said, well, I'm going to work here. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't driven the bus any different way than anybody else. I'm not obstructing anybody. What's the problem? They said, well, there's no problem, Mr. Sandhu. We're not saying anything, but it is not part of uniform. We cannot allow you to drive buses with the not very uniform. So by having that excuse, they suspended me, sent me home. They didn't sack me. So if they sacked me, then I could go and make a claim against the unemployment. So they suspended me, that we are not sacking you. You take the turnover, come back to the buses, we need you. So that's where it started. I said, I take the decision that no, I'm not going to come back to the buses without turn, that I'm going to return. So that's where the agitation started.
And how old are you at this point?
About 22.
22. Wow. Okay. That's
23 maybe.
that is a lot. Most 22-year-olds are just fresh out of university and don't have a clue about life. So that's pretty amazing. Okay. So they ask you to come back on the premise that you don't wear your turban, and obviously you do wear your turban, and you don't go back. So from some of the reports that I read, it said that you then left Wolverhampton to get a job in London.
No, that was not straight away. That was, I've been fighting for 2 years.
Okay, so what happens in those 2 years before?
And those 2 years, first of all, we were writing letters backward, forward. And my father organized a political party here, Shromani Akali Dal, because he was Akali from India. Okay. So he formed a party in the whole England, make branches. You have still even... very rare, few people are, but you will find 1 or 2 people in each town. So they made a Shromani Akali Dal party, and they start writing from the party behalf that you are obstructing our citizens or our members to wear turban. Yeah. So we were fighting with them. It took about 2 years. It went to House of Lords, even the case went up to...
And you're not working in these 2 years?
No, not working. 2 years, it didn't work.
But you're suspended. You're not suspended.
Yeah.
So are you being paid?
No.
So you're not being paid, you don't have a job, but technically you can't, I guess, get another job as you're still technically employed by them.
Yes.
So okay, I see. So they have really kind of got you stuck. All right. And so after those 2 years, what happens? What makes you think, all right, I'm going to move and find a job elsewhere?
Not find a job. I want to drive the bus. So applied into London Transport after 2 years, that I've got a license, I can drive, and I want to drive buses. On my CV, without looking at me, they appointed me. They gave me job. So when I went to London, similarly, like Wolverhampton, they all give training to new person, no matter if you're a driver, whatever. They don't give you just bus to go on duty, they give you training. I had the training. The people who were inspectors, who were examiners, inspectors, examiners, all, they knew where I come from, what has happened. They don't want me to start job there. They didn't say nothing, but they was not helping me. So after a week training, when they had the test, they failed me. Although I got a license, they failed me, you're not fit. So the general manager of the whole London Transport, I forgot his name now, he thought, I do not want to have the same agitation in London now, what is happening in Wolverhampton. Or don't spoil the name. Then he said that he want to sit in the test himself with the inspectors.
Okay.
And asked me to go on the route again, take the bus, and examiners sitting on the back, and that general manager also sitting on the back. He's not saying nothing. Examiners giving instruction, go left, go right, brake, or whatever. Yeah. And there's a big skid pan they made in London Transport. They give you train there if in case bus skid, how you control it. Okay. So you have to skid the bus and control it very quickly. There's a big pan. So they took me there, and they all down event, and then I saw through the mirror that inspector is general manager asking him to the inspector. I asked him. He nodded his head like this, a question like, how is it? Because he's sitting with him. Yeah. So the examiner cannot say anything very he got any fault finding, because the general manager is sitting with him. Then he asked him, what is it? He said, he's okay now. He said he was not okay yesterday. Today he's all right. So they passed me. Then they gave me a job. Then the general manager called me in his office. It doesn't happen like that. Because his office is right in the center. We were in the buses or depots all over the places. He said, look, we're going to give you a job. It's my responsibility. Your safety is our responsibility. When you leave home, come to work, don't argue with anybody. Don't say nothing. Don't forget. Just come straight to your job. Don't go here and there. And then when you're in the bus, if somebody says you something, don't reply. It's very hard. Somebody will come and hit you. But don't defend. Don't come out of the bus if somebody tries to shout at you. So he gave me all these instructions that he told me that there's a phrase in English, I don't know what it is, that everything goes old after 9 days. It's only 9 days, something, whatever it is. So when I went first day on the bus, a lot of English people or other people who didn't like me, somebody wore just a wrapped fabric, or somebody did the type of head solves.
Yeah. So a question on this. So I was trying to wait to get to that point because there's loads of newspaper reports called the Mad Hatters protest. So does this happen on the first day?
First day.
Okay. So I'm assuming your manager was supportive of you wearing your turban and wanted you to wear your turban and anything. And I'm assuming he wasn't a Sikh or
no
from India. Okay. So how does work, or like, I guess, are these the same people that have been training you? Like, how does the work?
No, a lot of people, they just, because
just other bus drivers.
They bus drivers.
Okay.
They thought if he's allowed, we should be allowed to do anything.
So personally speaking, when I read those newspaper articles, it really pulled my heart out because it's so disrespectful. I personally can't put it into words.
It's everybody.
But for you, what was it like that day going?
To me, I took no notice of anybody because I was strong-minded. I did my duty as I should do. Nobody approached me to say anything. Whatever they're doing, they keep doing.
Did you see any of these people, or were they protesting? Okay.
Yeah, they all over. In my garage and some other garages also, they were doing it. But they're not saying nothing to me, so why should I say anything? If they're laughing, I'm laughing.
And so so you mentioned earlier that there were 150 other drivers as well. So obviously they're all not English. What would some of the other Punjabi or Sikh saying?
They were 100% Punjabis. And those young men, they were Punjabi Sikhs, they were.
And what did they think of what was happening?
Some of them were supporting me, some were not supporting me. 3 or 4 people were totally supporting me, that we will stand by me.
Yeah.
And we did quite a few things while I was there, but we doing it. We one day put a notice board on the union board. There's an Indo-Pak bus driver association having a meeting. Yeah. There was no association. So, like, clever mind that let's see what happened.
Yeah.
And the transport general worker union, who was the union, they felt, oh, yeah, what's happening? They thought the people had made another union, which they wouldn't allow, or wouldn't like.
Yeah.
So they approached us. I said, look, you're not listening to us, so we got to do something. Yeah. But there was no union at all. There was no. So 4 of us made a letter and stuck it on the notice board.
So how long does this so obviously you go to your job in London, these other bus drivers are wearing whatever they want on their heads as a form of protest. How long does that last?
3 days.
And then that's it? And you continue to go to work with no problem?
I worked for the London Transport 1 year. Yeah. And then I left and I came back because I done what I wanted to do. Yeah. And in that meantime, while the agitation was still going in Wolverhampton, my father and his friend, who first instigated me to start this, when everything failed here, they went to India to get a support from our government. They went to Amritsar first, the head of Akali also. The government was Akali also, Punjab government. At that time, I think Prakash Badal was the chief minister at the time. Approached him. He didn't do nothing, but he did refuse. He's a very diplomatic person. He would speak to you very nicely, but what he does is different thing. He didn't help. Then they went to Shromani Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee. They didn't help. And when they didn't help, then another person here in London, his name was Sohan Singh Sandhu. He knew me before. He met me before. He used to write letters for me also, for a registration board to help. He came to me. He said, "Look, young man, now, enough now. Is it just a job, or you going to stick for it?" I said, "Uncle, look, you can see now how long I've been off job.
Yeah.
You find it a job." He said, "No, I don't, but because I'm going to be more serious than that."
Yeah.
I said, "Was?" He said, "Look, tell your father from India to speak to me, and I will tell them exactly what I'm going to do." So my father called him. He said, he asked my father, "What should we?" He said that we are going to organize a protest march against the British High Commissioner in Delhi, because Punjab people refused us to help. They approached the Delhi Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee. At that time, Jathedar Santosh Singh was president. Good or bad, we don't know, but he said he will support. So he organized a protest march against the British High Commissioner. 50,000 Sikhs gathered there. And my father and my father's friend, Sohan Singh, they were leading the protest march. And he told them, like, the day you are protesting in India, I'm going to know something. He said, "Look, I'm telling you, and I'm going to tell them." He said, he announced in the paper that I will burn myself into death if they don't allow, because he was an ex-police officer in Kenya. He said, I lived all my life serving these people as an ex-police person. I'm retired now. At my retirement, I don't want to feel my community being insulted in England. So he knows that he will burn himself to death. And Delhi was a protest march. In those times, the people from the press, they heard the news and they started approaching him. They were asking him, "Where are you going to burn? How are you going to burn? What are you going to do?" He said, "Look, you got this message and that's it. I'm not going to tell you nothing else." Then, in the meantime, Sant Fateh Singh was president of Shromani Akali Dal in India. He himself was threatened in a way that somebody else going to sacrifice. While prior to this, he had a threat to Indian government for some, I don't know what it was, that he will burn himself to death if you don't accept our demands, whatever, I forget what it was. And he didn't die. And people didn't like that you say something and you don't do it. And they thought if somebody else die in England, I will be like really ruined myself, laughing. So he sent a telegram to Sohan Singh Sandhu that we will take the case into our hand. Don't die. Take your threat back. He didn't reply him. So the press went to him that your Pope has written you now that they're going to take the case into their hand. Are you still going to keep your threat?
Yeah.
He said, I remember the word because I can't forget many people who done for me something. Yeah. He said, my Pope is Guru Gobind Singh. I don't care who the Sant Fateh Singh is. When Guru Gobind Singh will send me a message that he has taken the matter into his head, only then I will. Yeah. So they were really shaken, the press people, that this person is meant what he was saying, he's going to do it.
Before Mr. Sohan Singh Jolly made the announcement, did you know what he was going to say?
He told me.
And what did you think when he told you that?
It was a big thing for me to hear from him. But at the same time, he told me that I don't want to see you like change your mind or like a youngster, like they do. Because if you know, there was a person who was in Second World War, a Sikh, was very popular Air Force pilot,
Oh, I think Hardeep Singh Malik.
something like that.
Yes.
At the time, he wore turban,
Yes, he did.
and he was so much respected in England,
Yeah, and still is.
still is. But it was like he's in his story. He said, I went to a cinema. There's a big queue, and he stood on the back of the queue that he wanted waiting for a ticket, and somebody recognized him. He's that pilot. So they respect. He says, "Sir, you not have to stand there.
Go to the
Go to the front
Yeah.
and go in. You don't need ticket." So it was that much respect. But at the in a later life, he shaved his beard and turban. So he said, "Don't want you to be one of those." I said, "No, that's not what would happen to me. My roots are deeper. My grandfathers, they used to be jathedars of morchas. So it's in
In my blood.
my blood."
Okay, sorry. So coming back then to Mr. Sohan Singh Jolly obviously making this declaration, obviously you are committed to it. I was reading that at one point in, I think 1968, there was a local protest march, and the report said there were between 1,000 and 5,000 people. When did that march happen? Was that before with this?
It's a lot before that.
Okay.
It was early days when I started this protest. People start gathering. I have started getting support, and then my father organized the protest march when he organized the Akali Dal in whole England, and there were 6,000 people came to join all over the places.
Once Mr. Sohan Singh Jolly makes this declaration, what happens after that point? So obviously he doesn't immolate himself. He doesn't set fire to himself. So what happens?
Before that date, before the third date came, and the protest happened in Delhi, in House of Lords, it was allowed that they should be allowed to wear turban.
Okay, so because of that decision, that was the end of it. And so did you go back working at the Wolverhampton bus company? No. So where did you...
Approved my whatever I did do. So came back from London again. I started doing my truck business again.
Oh, okay. Did you know of anyone then who worked at, say, the bus company who started to wear that turban because of what you'd done?
Yes, 5 people who were supporting me very strongly. One of them is alive still. Okay. The other 3 I don't know. 2, one is died definitely. 2, one was very ill. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him. And they were used to my age. The person other one was who wore the turban his name is Avatar Singh Azad. He wore the turban soon after winning the case. Yeah. So 5 people did wear turban who were working in the transport at the time. Now you can see everybody's wearing a turban.
So So obviously that was the bulk of what I wanted to talk to you about. But how did you go from kind of the 1970s to building up to what is now a business that you're sitting at the head of?
I went into, first of all, holiday business. At that time, I grew up to 6 trucks. It was up to 19. After coming back from London, between 70 and 76, 75. I grew up to 6 trucks. I didn't want my family to go into business with me. I want to support because I was the elder person in the family. My father went back to India. Then, when we won the case, and so I thought, you have the holidays now, and you can enjoy now. Enough is enough. You've done the hard bit as well. Because when I was not working, everybody does require a senior person in the family. My elder son will help him, big family. But that time he had to work hard. So I said, okay, enough, now you can enjoy yourself now. He never worked after that. Although he was only about 45 or 46 at the time when he started, didn't work after that. And I started business. Luckily, with God's grace, we went well. And my younger brothers were, physically, they were not very strong. They were like younger. They were not healthy like myself. I thought, in those days, truck business is a bit heavy with work, and I want them to join me. They won't be able to do it. So I thought, let's change something. Yeah. So I started doing the ladies' fashions wear. So working there. We built up the business, and I had a warehouse, which was in Westbury again. Yeah. My brothers were working with me. So we grew that business quite well. When they start getting married, after that, they want to go their ways as well. So we start splitting. And one by one, we went our own ways, not arguably, but, amicably, naturally. Then I started this wholesale of fabric, because I was only in fashion. So start selling the fabric to the people where you used to buy the garments from. So we start knitting the fabric, start printing the fabric, just without knowing anything, from zero, and be successful.
So how long has this business been running?
76, I started printing the fabric.
Wow.
And that business went okay up to 1978. 1978, Mrs. Thatcher came into power. Yep. And all the system changed. England started going bankrupt. Yep. When everybody was unemployed, companies started bankrupting, going bust. When one goes bust, he owes money to somebody else, then he affect him. I used to go to textile place in Bradford, Manchester, which was used to be flourishing. But after 1978, two things happened. One was a lot of laws changed. Yeah. Then the interest rate from 5% went up to 22%. Nobody could afford it. No. And people started going bust. The mills in Bradford, Yorkshire area, 10-story mills, whole street, closed, boards, you don't see a person, you don't see anything like that. It used to be ghost town. And then I diverted myself into sofa material that we diverted. We had from 1978 to 1990, had a very, very tough time. And then went into the sofa business. Sofa material, not making sofa material.
Okay.
So, touchwood, gradually, we became successful printing the sofa material and selling, then start selling the plain fabric, start importing from China. Okay. And then now I got two big, this place is very small, it's not big. Got another place which is 6-acre site. Wow. And that's running there as well, same thing we're doing.
And so do you manage, what do you manage? How, as in, so Uncle, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you now?
79 now.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, you obviously don't look 79. You walked in with the demeanor of a 40-year-old earlier when I was sat there. And you have a very you have a strong presence about yourself. So what do you do now in terms of your job?
So actually, I was just looking over. That's it. My sons are doing everything now.
Okay, that's brilliant.
But we got 50 people employed there,
and do you have any plans on retiring, or do you always see yourself working?
I think I will see myself working. I'm not going to retire. I like that. Unless physically something happened to me.
And hopefully that doesn't. Hopefully you stay well and all good.
Oh, well, I just get up in the morning, do the time, 6 o'clock, then do my shower, my prayers, name, then come to work for 9 o'clock. And then just leave here about 6 o'clock in the evening.
What question that I have to ask you, considering that you've spent decades.
Fine. Come in. Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, so one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, well, actually, I've got two. One is that Enoch Powell is often in your story is connected because of a speech he gave, I think, soon after. For someone who was center of the story, grew up and was in the middle of it, what do you remember, or what can you say about Enoch Powell and that kind of right-wing movement?
Enoch Powell, what is people knows wasn't that.
Okay.
In politics, a lot of things happens. I was his constituents. He was very close to me.
Okay.
In fact, when the election day, when they made committee room, my front room used to be used as a committee room.
Okay.
He was living not far, about maybe 500 yards from me.
Okay, very close.
So we were very close to him. He helped to get two of my cousins in England.
Okay.
So if he was racist,
He wouldn't have
he
helped.
wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Two of my cousins came to England. One, my cousin came for study, for the education. He did his degrees in India. He wanted to study further. We applied. We sent him the letter from admission from Wolverhampton College, Wolverhampton. But he was refused.
Okay.
So we approached Enoch Powell that he be refused. What can we do? Why he be refused? We got everything. What is required by law? He saw the paper. He said, leave it with me. Yeah. He picked up the phone. Didn't pick up the phone straight away. He went to the parliament. He said, is the British High Commissioner under British government, or the British government under British High Commissioner? He asked this question. They said, why? He said, if somebody have got all the evidence or all the supporting documents, what you require to have a further education in England, why somebody is refused? They said that he's not supposed to be. The next day, he picked up the phone to the High Commissioner, asked him the question, and my cousin was sent a letter from the British High Commissioner. 3 days later, come and see him in Delhi, issued him a visa. He came here. And second cousin I came to work here. He helped him for that as well. So he was not a racist at the time. What happened in the Tory party, there was a lot of movement. Ted Heath government was not stable. Yeah. When you want to become a prime minister, like you can see recently now, Sunak and the other three, they were all having a go that who want to be prime minister. And then whoever won is won. So
we were recording in the impressive office factory of the Sim, but as we were recording, a number of important phone calls came through, and at one point the Sim had to step out in order to deal with something. No need to worry though, he was back in a flash and we got to finish our engaging conversation.
Chalo, and he was not that, so when somebody want to become a prime minister, they want to see how they can move votes.
Yep.
So he found at that time, probably, if he played this card of racism, he may be popular.
Oh, okay. So it was a political.
He played this politics game, but it flopped.
Yeah.
So he left Wolverhampton after that.
Yeah, which is...
Never seen him after that. Basically, he wasn't bad. He used to help people because when somebody, you're an MP, you go for anything, he used to help everybody.
Yeah. One last question is, two. I will end with another one. But so I'm sure, like, you're aware that a lot of kids growing up nowadays often get bullied, or they go through hard times wearing a turban and looking different. What would one piece of advice be for someone who's gone through, it's quite historic, like, as in, the reason we're doing this podcast is because it's such an important piece of Sikh British history. But to those people who have gone through or are going through bullying because they look different, what is your advice? Like, what would you say if it was your child or grandchild?
Well, you have to stick to your principles.
Yeah.
It's always hard time does come sometime. It's not that you say that everything is easy.
Yeah.
But you have to be, you stick to your faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the last question. I just wanted to show you this cartoon, which I found in the Daily Mail. It was published soon after your, it was published in 1968, I believe, from the Daily Mail, and it shows kind of a characterization of yourself on a bus, and the white bus driver is saying, like, how dare they kind of allow Sikhs to now wear their turbans. 2 questions. Have you ever seen that before? And secondly, what do you think looking at that, considering that is the kind of the image that was pushed out to the wider public by what is a rag, the newspaper, but nonetheless, like, what is your reaction to?
Actually, I would laugh at them.
Yeah.
It's their weakness, what is showing. The people, the cartoonist, I don't know what they would do. In our campaign, church people were helping us. So all the wise people were helping us. In the protest march in Wolverhampton, when 6,000 people joined, the local church people as a community, they approached us, and they was in the protest.
Nice. Well, I'd have to say is thank you for making the time. I think we've spoken for almost over an hour. It's been a pleasure. I've absolutely loved it. Obviously, when I go back, I will check everything's okay. And if there's any issue, I will be back in touch. But I just wanted to say thank you. This has been absolutely brilliant. It's kind of crazy to talk to someone who I read so much about. So yeah, thank you for your time. I do really appreciate it. And here we are at the conclusion of another exciting podcast episode. I hope you had a great time and learned something new. If you like what you heard, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to stay updated on future episodes, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback means the world to me. Even though the podcast recording had come to an end, the camera was still rolling as Uncle G took a closer look at the Daily Mirror cartoon. I was brimming with curiosity and just had to ask a few more questions.
Anyway, he done the cartoon, but he still shows that the drivers, bus Sikhs are driving. No matter what they say.
No matter what they say, we still won.
Yeah, not so they. Where for the agate curry, there are more people going into the curry houses.
Yeah, the fish and chips. Well, what is it? They say now that what is it? Chicken tikka masala is their national dish of England. So I think we're definitely.
You told me this like English people. Prior to the Asian came into England, they haven't had any color. They were really black, white, black and brown, navy, sky blue, and gray. That was the color. They never seen the color. What did they see now?
Yeah.
And they never had any. They could do the boil things and put some salt on it.
Yeah.
Because they are willing. Now they go to Indian shops and they buy our
masala
and all that.
Yeah. Well, even it's crazy to see how things have changed so much. What for you would you say is the biggest change in this country since you came in the 60s?
I think what it is, the people are illiterate themselves. They knew nothing. They haven't seen any word. Like if I have seen anything more than my village, then I won't know nothing. These people have never seen anything. At the same time, Second World War, Sikhs moved first into Germany. Sikhs moved first into Israel. Those people, they have got respect for them, but the new one they've forgotten or they don't know. But if you go into the deep books,
go into history books and check. What was your role with that? Because obviously you were there was the 80s. Once Operation Blue Star and stuff like that happened, what was kind of the community's reaction here?
If we were there, we would fight back.
Yeah. Were you almost sad that you weren't there? Was you sad that you were in this country?
But whatever we could do in this country, we did.
Yeah.
I was, at that day, I was a general secretary of a big group in Wolverhampton. We took 40 coaches to protest march in London from our group around because that's for Wolverhampton. I had 2 cars. I had a Rolls Royce and I had a Land Cruiser. I gave 2 cars to boys, had permission from the council, and did the voter and the application. Can't speak one gate. सारे शहर घूमते रहे स्विमिंग पुट मजे चलो चलो चलते when जब स्पीकर रोड रास्ते लगी हो तो लोग उसके बाद देखने की है
Yeah, just to come and look and see what's happening.
तो चारी को चांदा नहीं और मैं खोल की ताई फिर कि एक आदि कोई डर नहीं लंडन में जो पर सब कोई तक ते वो सारे कहते कितना करूँगे तो फरनी नहीं कोई फरनी गल जब फन लगे तो जो हैशटैग इशू कितना हो गया रिकॉग्निशन भी थे जो टेलीफोन का स्पॉन्सर लगा कोई तो मैं नट गई हैं सो तो बाद किस क्या जी को कोई कार वैन जो कि ज़रूरी पैसे देवांगे.
Did you have any family in India when it happened?
Yeah, the rest of family out in India.
And were they okay? Were they accepted?
But they were okay. We were to be all got with that code and number said this to be affect for more.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Actually, I couldn't do much more now because
No, that's absolutely fine. That was brilliant.
Busy now.
Yeah, no, I can imagine there's all sorts happening. But no, thank you so much. I can't complain.